Harry. Well, nearly a year after leaving Washington, former President George W. Bush and his wife Laura are still adjusting to life after the White House, but they're adjusting very well. I recently sat down with the former First Lady to talk about their new life and their new home in Dallas. Now that you're back home in Texas, does it feel like a million miles away from Washington?
It really does. There truly is. Not that I ever felt like I had the weight of the world on my shoulders, or that George did when I lived there, but when it was gone, I could notice it.
Because you feel
and there's a great
lighter?
feeling of freedom.
She may be a former First Lady, but Laura Bush is still as busy as ever, writing her memoir,
25 years ago,
giving speeches, and acting as chairwoman of the Dallas Performing Arts Center, where we sat down to talk about life these days.
That first morning that you woke up in Texas and President Bush wasn't president anymore, what did he say?
Well, I remember the first night that we arrived at the ranch, and we could tell things were different when George was out in the garage putting away everything that came off the cars. You know, we no longer had the people that were helping do that.
No one doing it
Next
for
morning,
him.
Making our own coffee and all the things we hadn't done. But it's really, you know, it's terrific.
In addition to this new state-of-the-art performance center, Mrs. Bush continues to be involved in a variety of causes.
I know that you're still very passionate about education and women's health. Do you find that it's more difficult now to promote those as a former First Lady?
Well, I mean, certainly the formers don't have quite the podium that the First Lady does, but I still have a podium. I was the honorary chairman of the Komen Race for the Cure that was here in Dallas.
How do you think Mrs. Obama is using her podium as First Lady?
Well, I think very well. I noticed she was hula hooping. I saw that on television, and I think she's got some really good messages that she can get out to young people and to women everywhere. And I know she will learn, if she doesn't already know, what a really big podium she has.
When they aren't working or planning the George W. Bush Presidential Library, Mrs. Bush says the former first couple is trying to enjoy life as ordinary citizens.
Have you noticed a change in President Bush since he left the White House?
Well, I think we're both a lot more relaxed.
Do you and President Bush watch the news together?
We watch some news. We do a little bit. We talk about the news now. We both have Blackberries. Maybe people would be surprised about that.
Does he ever watch the stories about the economy or the wars and say...
Sure, absolutely, of course.
And does he ever say, I'm so glad that's not my problem anymore?
I never have heard him say that.
Do you think he feels that way, relieved
well,
that the pressure's off?
There's great relief, believe me, when you leave the White House after serving there for 8 years. That's a lot of responsibility.
The current administration dismisses and says a lot of things about your husband's administration that are negative.
It took many years to lead us here, and it will take many months and many different solutions to lead us out.
Why doesn't Mr. Bush say anything in response?
He just thinks that that isn't in his role, that he doesn't want to second-guess the president.
What I reject is when some folks say we should go back to the past policies when it was those very same policies that got us into this mess in the first place.
And I can tell you, I don't like that very much.
You don't like what?
That he would say that about, you know, blame everything on George. But I think that really the President of the United States needs to remember the duty that he has and the obligation he has to the responsibility he has to the office.
Which is?
Well, which is, of course, to treat it with respect and with dignity.
Do you think that when you say negative things about a former president that it's not dignified?
Well, I think that's probably not a really you know, great thing to do, especially this is coming from the wife of the former president.
Exactly.
So surely you understand, Maggie.
Dick Cheney has been very vocal about his opposition to the new policies in Washington. Do you think it's in his right to speak up?
Absolutely, of course. I mean, this is a free country, and I think it's important for people to express what they think.
What would you like your life to be like in 10 years?
Well, I hope that we'll have the Bush Library and Institute built, and that we'll both be very involved with all the issues and programs that will come out of the Bush Institute. And I think it'll be really fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to a partnership with women in Afghanistan and women across the Middle East.
Sounds like you have no plans of slowing down.
I don't think I'll slow down too much, but maybe I will.
A noticeably happy and relishing her new life, Laura Bush. We thank her for her time. Now let's go over to you, Harry.
All right, thanks very much, Maggie.